have to get up Saturday morning anyway because I've got to open the club every Saturday. So, you know that youth centre thing we were talking about way back when?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So we actually got it going. So
How is it going?
it's going really, really well. So it's everything and more.
Yeah.
We get a lot of interesting youth from around town down there. So mainly like 14 to 35. So yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
So which is cool.
Awesome.
So yeah.
What do I do? It's okay if I just grab a photo first. Get
Sure.
it out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm very high tech.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here, yep.
Yes.
Maybe facing that way.
That way. Cool, easy. Do you want to record? It's easy than scrolling.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Bloody note.
So I don't know if it helps, but I've printed off the newsletter that we put out recently, and our not prospectus, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So those are those two. So
That's really helpful. Thank you.
more than welcome to those. So
So tell me about I suppose, the background of the group, how it started, what sort of aims were when you I'm assuming you set it up?
Yeah. So initially I set it up back tail end 2013 as just I'd grown up hearing about it. Like there was like people from back in the day, from the cable days, talking about it. Now that they're nice and well seasoned, and they were always talking about it. So I was just at a stage where I was like, look it up, see if there's anything there. And I didn't find anything. So there were a couple of like old websites and stuff like that, but there wasn't really anything happening. So I just set up the Facebook group and the Facebook pages just here, if anybody else is interested in this, we'll talk about it. And from there I kind of used it as just this is what's happening in the island, here what does everybody else think? And that's kind of how it started. And for the first few years, like, went up from a couple of dozen likes and a couple of dozen people in the group to a couple of hundred, and then about July last year, 7 Sharp picked us up, and they were like, hey, we're going to expose you, and we went from 1,000 likes on Facebook to over 10,000 likes now. So it's like, and our Facebook group has now over 1,000 members in it. So we get probably 20 to 40 new applications every week. So.
And so when you say the group, that's the discussion group?
Yeah, that's the Facebook group. So.
And what's the difference between the page and
So the page is the, I suppose, public space. So it's like we'll talk about stuff in the discussion group, find topics, subjects, and then put them out onto the Facebook group. We try to get a consensus in the group, and then it doesn't always happen, but things like news articles and stuff like that, I'll just put out there. Just general what's going on. I'll be honest, a little bit of trolling, because it's 2019, it has to be done. And I actually think that's kind of helped it get to where it's got, because there's an aspect of, yes, it's serious, but it's not too serious, if you know what I mean. Like, you still have, like, you take a serious subject, you still have to have some comic relief in it. You've got to keep it a little bit lighthearted. So.
In that discussion, how do you guys sort of decide what issues to kind of make part of the...
So, people put ideas forward, discussions happen. Some of them get quite excited because it's certainly not I don't want to say it's not a unified... The unifying factor is everybody's pro-South Island. But as far as political opinions, they go everywhere. So we've got we've got hard socialists, we've got right wingers, we've got capitalists, we've got libertarians, we've got a charming mix of everybody in between. We do try and keep out anything too weird. Like we have had people who have got past the vetting and they've posted things that are less than ideal, and the group responds badly to that. So, I mean, example being, after 7 Sharp, we got a massive influx of people coming in, and about 2 days after that, somebody like posted a swastika, and we instantly lost like 25 people within 5 minutes. Just nah, I'm out. Obviously, we kicked this guy out, removed the post, stuff like that, because it's not helpful. It doesn't help the conversation, and it's like hard right, hard left. That's not where we want to go. That's not who the South Island is. So
I suppose there's a difference from the group to the page. So I know obviously, like from having a look, there's, you're very pro-free speech. Do you moderate the page at all in terms of like comments?
Not really. This has been the problem has been is we can get anywhere between depending on what topic comes up, and obviously more interesting topics get more engagement on them, we can get anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 comments a week. I work 2 full-time jobs. It's there's an aspect of the page, I think people will shout out the worst ideas. So, like, yes, I have seen some comments that have come up, and I ask people to tag the page in comments that are a little bit too far, and I'll moderate those. So I have got rid of them, but even then, I try to, being free speech and trying to like censor the page is it's an interesting quandary, because it's like, because of course, like when I have deleted people and banned people from the page who have just been way out there, and then I'll get angry like messages and emails going, oh well, you're censoring me now, or like what are you doing? It's kind of like you're being an ass, like just no. So I mean, it's trying to find that balance. So I try to hide comments rather than delete comments, because if people want to see what people are saying, they can, but like conspiracy theories or whacked out ideas or extreme ideas aren't conducive to the conversation. I think what we're trying to have is a genuine conversation. I think a lot of people, when they see the page, see it as a bit of a piss take, and then are surprised when it's like, no, we're actually serious. But part of that seriousness is actually trying to keep a conversation open. So it's a difficult one.
Yeah, in terms of, like you say, it is a serious thing. Like I see you guys are trying to assist political.
Yep.
So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yep. So how we're doing this is there's the South Island Independence Movement, and that's more the community aspect. That's let's have a conversation with the public. Then there's the South Island Party, which we've set up an incorporated society. We're going through that aspect, and we'll be working on getting obviously members involved in that. So that's the political aspect, and they're not mutually exclusive, but they're not one and the same. So we're trying very hard to actually keep those two aspects separate, because there's people who want, like the community aspect, that don't want to be involved in politics, and there's people in politics and politics its own world. So try and keep those two a little bit separate. And then we've got the third aspect, which is the actual economic side of it, where it's like we talk to businesses and go, hey look, can we get some like more by South Island and like South Island local shopping and like that aspect of it. If the South Island ever did become independent, it's going to need its own internal economy functioning properly. So you've got to do the economic side of it, you've got to do the social, cultural side of it, and you've got to do the political side of it. They all interact with each other, but they're not one and the same. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So with the political side of it, obviously, so you're taking them separate, but do they have some, it seems like sort of same kind of
similar goals.
Similar.
So, as opposed to, and again, this is something I've pointed out in these, is the fact that we've got the political side of it, so the community side of it, everything we want, rah-de-rah. And then there's the political side of it, which is this is everything we'd want for an independent South Island, and then this is what South Island may never become independent. That's a reality. That even if the South Island just becomes a devolved state, so it has a devolved parliament like you have in Australia, you've got the political side of it is greater representation, advocating for greater southern autonomy, pushing for a devolved parliament like you see in the UK or Australia or stuff like that. So it's a lot more. It's a lot narrower. It's just here. Let's represent the people of the South Island. Let's have more control over our own affairs. Stuff like that. Where the independence movement is, here's what we'd want if we were independent. Here's what we want if we're just a devolved state. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And so what do you see as being because this is going back again.
Yeah, sure.
What do you see as being the issues at the moment? Like why should someone?
So the South Island independence has been around since before the South Island New Zealand was even a country. So it's an old blood thing. So the issue has always been there. The South Island has always felt playing second fiddle to the North Island. We produce a lot of the we produce a lot of the lamb, the dairy, the wood. We produce a lot of goods that are exported that the country gets revenue for. North Island seems a lot more service economy where they're all just selling each other cups of tea. So there's a feeling of we do all the real work and then the North Island just lives off the proceeds. So there's always been that dissatisfaction, and I think just recently, with the advent of social media, there's a place where people have been able to connect and actually share that conversation. So you could probably blame Facebook for that one. So I just think it's one of those things where its time has come in a sense. We're now better connected than we ever have been, and we're now able to have that conversation because working class South Island doesn't have time to go to little political meetings all over the show. We're all busy working, running our own jobs, working out on the farm, doing life. Where now with social media, and 5 minutes in the evening we can go, this is an issue. Where that's never happened before. So I think it's just with society becoming more connected, new things like this are happening all over the show. So I think it's just a lot of old sentiments just coming to the front. So
it's like just obviously I've sort of looked at the page, and it seems like immigration has been quite a key issue as well. Now, what's the sort of, I suppose, view position?
I think it's one of those things where there's only so many houses. So when you've only got so many houses and we have a housing shortage, more people coming in. It doesn't matter whether they're coming from China or the UK, it's just there isn't enough houses. The South Island we haven't had the infrastructure reinvested. Like our roads are crap. Our infrastructure hasn't been vamped up and nowhere near where they should be. And the fact that we're bringing in more people and putting even more stress on the system, I think is the true underlying cause for people being iffy about even more people coming in. I think when you talk to people about more people coming in, like small towns don't want to feel like Christchurch, or Christchurch feel like Auckland, where it's just there's too many people. The South Island has always had a much lower population, and the idea of more people coming in and filling it up, and more urban spread and out into the countryside, more houses being built in scenic areas which have always been kind of the pure nature aspect of the South Island, really grates people's gears a bit, especially when you've got Americans and Chinese buying these and building these massive mansions on waterfronts, and everybody's going, you don't even live there, bro. And again, it's one of those things, again, you get on social media, you see the worst side in people, and I think you get a lot of emotion with the actual reality is why are there more people coming here when we can't A, sustain them, B, they don't live here anywhere, they're just buying scenery. So
I was going to ask about that, because a lot of the things I've seen posted about immigration, you look in the comments section and there's some pretty terrible stuff in there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested on where things, where you guys sit with that, because obviously a lot of the articles, I imagine when you post them, you kind of know your reaction is they're going to generate, right? I mean,
there is certainly an aspect of that. It's one of those things where to build anything on social media, you have to be a little outrageous. I think the only reason it's got, if you started you look at all these mainstream parties that are trying to start, and there's nothing special about them, they all say the same thing, where there's us going, hey, we're going this way. Like, that's out there. Like, that's different to everything else. And there's an aspect of when posting, you have to be a little bit edgy, otherwise nobody's going to pay attention. So there is an aspect of that where there is that aspect of marketing come into. I mean, you look at just retail marketing. It's all things that are outrageous always get more attention. As far as the actual comment sections go, I would say that people commenting on our page aren't us. So there's, like I said, there's 10,000 people that have liked the page. There's only 1,000 people in the group. So not everybody that posts on the page, people commenting on the page doesn't represent the page. That's their own problem. And I mean, this is the thing, is like, I've known of several people who have been reported to Facebook and their accounts shut down for things they've posted on the page. We don't endorse. I can't comment, again, it's with the amount of comments we get, I can't see every comment, and therefore I can't say, look, I agree with this, I don't agree with this. Yeah. Trouble with having, like I said before, I work 2 full-time jobs. I don't have time to vet every comment. So, yes, there are arseholes out there. I can't control the arseholes. So.
Yeah, okay. And so then I suppose looking at your personal views, because I think people would be quite interested to know who is this artist behind this.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know that you've always been, you've done news stories before on a range of things. And I did see one thing that you've been part of, I think, is a member of there's a Facebook group, Kiwis Against Islamification.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think what needs to be understood is everything went a little bit crazy when Trump happened. And Trump brought up a lot of comments and a lot of ideas that have kind of been under the surface, and everybody wanted to talk about it. So that group was one of a few groups that everybody kind of joined. And, I mean, got shut down for obvious reasons. So it's one of those things where, was I involved in the conversation back in 2016-17? Yes. Did I agree with everything, again, being posted? I would place myself in the soft right category. I've talked with people who are far right. I've talked with people who are far left. One of the things I've always tried to do is talk with people and get their views on the opinion. I'll hear people out. If I don't like what they say, it's kind of, well, it's nice talking to you, right, we're going this way. So I'd say that was kind of the formation of that attitude, was being involved in those Facebook groups and hearing what people had to say and just drawing my own conclusion on it. I think just like anything, any radical ideology, whether it's radical Christian, radical Islam, radical communism, radical right-wing, they've all got a problem. They're all pushing for a particular narrative, and anything radical like that is a problem. I'm just one of those people who will actually engage with that person in that conversation. Because, I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of the people involved in these are angry young guys who feel they've got nothing to lose. And angry young dudes with nothing to lose are dangerous. The amount of young guys I've talked to and gone, hell, look, we can channel that. And 3-4 years later, they're average dudes in relationships, working full-time job, and they're now happy with life. They've got past their angsty teenage stage, and now they're like constructive members in society. And that's what and again, that's kind of reflected in what I do in Timaru, is I'm taking angry young people and then helping them like channel that emotion, whether it's going out and going running, whether it's going and getting a job. It's, I don't want to say de-radicalization, but that's kind of how I approach things like this. If I can talk to an angry young dude, see why he's angry, and then go, well, you can channel it into this, like go start a business, go to the gym, go whatever. Yeah. Kind of get where I'm going with that? I like having the conversation, regardless of how extreme the other person is, because usually that extremeness is just pent up emotion gone wrong. So
then I suppose on that, because I see what you're saying about, just wanting to be involved in the conversation. Absolutely.
Sure.
But then on the other side of that is you sort of start those conversations on the page, because there's a lot of posts about, like I saw there was a post about a Muslim person in Christchurch who was standing for city council. And
that one did get ramped up.
So there's been quite a lot about things in the way of Christchurch as well. So I mean, I suppose I'm interested in where you kind of see the line between starting a conversation that you probably know is going to go in a certain direction, or kind of just being part of a conversation.
Sure. So I'd say it's a mix of topic of the day and the fact that, like, the newsagent, when it comes out to post like that, I intentionally try to avoid alt media when posting stuff like that. I try to only post what mainstream media has posted. And it is in Christchurch. It is a topical. Most of our likes come from Christchurch, so it is very topical for them. And again, there's an aspect of, screaming into a pillow. Sometimes screaming on social media, it gets it out of people's systems. Or at least that's a theory. Yeah, again, there is an aspect of troll. I got involved big time in the internet in 2015, 2016. It was like troll university. There is an aspect of that. But there's also I'm now old enough in a sense of people need to have that conversation, because most people in polite society aren't allowed to have a conversation. And that's kind of my other, I suppose, philosophy on it all, is allow people to have the conversation. And if people are allowed to have the conversation, sometimes they can burn up that energy in like a comment rage storm, and that's as far as it goes. And obviously, and again, it does also bring out the actual people who are a little over the top, and those people can get and do get removed from the page and stuff like that. So it's a fine line, and anyone dancing on that line it's a tricky line to dance on. Do I make mistakes when I post things that are a little too edgy and do get a worse reaction than I should? Yeah. Are they always as bad as I think they're going to be? No. Are they I'm still a young dude myself, still I still fuck up. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's just like, here, see what happens. Because there's no manual for this shit. Like, most 27-year-olds don't start political movements.
This is you tried something before, right?
I've been in stuff like this forever. And like this is where, like, and again, having conversations all over the show, like I said, there's no instruction manual for this. And like we do have support people in the background, but again, they're all busy doing their own stuff too. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got like phone calls from some of our more prominent supporters for like, what are you doing? Like, oops. So I'm still learning this process. Like, New Zealand isn't renowned for having young people involved in politics, so there's no real guide for young people in politics. So I'm still stumbling. I'm still messing up. So have I done bad stuff on social media and post stuff I shouldn't have? Yeah, probably. Is it malice? I don't do. I mean, again, and I suppose off the record, like it's like this afternoon we've got stuff going down at the club. You're more than welcome to come see the kind of people that I work with on a day-to-day basis. And it's like, and you talk with any of them, and it's Solomon's got ideas, but none of it's not malice. Well, I'm not after anybody. I'm not trying to I mean, we've got on the Islamic question, like we've got a Muslim family that comes down twice a week, every week down to the club. So it's a dad and 2-3 kids who comes down and plays board games. So if I'm the bad guy picking on Muslim, I'm doing a really, really bad job because he's still coming to my club. You get it's not. I'm not personally attacking anybody for attacking them. Does that make sense? So, and it's a lot of things trying to tie into. And
another thing that because I did have Andrew Floon. He's raised concerns about some of the stuff on the page.
Okay.
He's seen it.
He's never talked to me about it. So.
This is
sure.
literally this way.
Okay.
I don't think he'd say on the page.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of saying that he's quite extreme.
Sure.
Views, which I think probably.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed that tends to bring it out a lot has been the posts about the firearms.
Yeah, the current firestorm.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sort of interested to hear your thoughts on that because that's obviously been breaking up quite a lot.
Yeah, it has. It's been a very, very big topic that everybody has, as a general, everybody has a say on. And I personally don't feel there's been the public discourse needed. What the government is doing is massive. It's pretty unprecedented, the scale of the thing they're doing, and it's been rushed through. There hasn't been the discussion, there hasn't been the process, it hasn't been a topic taken to the election. There's been a mass murder, every 20-something years? You look at anywhere else on the world, it happens so much more frequently. And for the amount of firearms that we've had in New Zealand, and the fact that we have so few incidents, is actually amazing. For the amount of firearms owned per citizen, the per capita firearm ownership, the fact that we've got so many firearms in circulation in this country and we have so few firearm incidences compared to other places in the world is amazing. So the fact that we've got such a good track record and then the government's gone, right, a bad thing's happened, yes, we need to do something. Whack. A lot of people feel it's just gone way too far. And I'd agree with that. I think it's one of those things where it should be a issue taken to the election. It shouldn't be a wham bam issue. There needs to be more public discourse. and more public input, because there hasn't been that process. It's just, this is what we think's the problem, this is what we're going to do about it. We're not actually going to fix the issues that brought it about. Like, that guy never should have got a firearms license. Who were his referees? Who was the officer who talked to him? Like all these things haven't come out. And the fact is, he never should have passed the firearms vetting process. So for somebody that shouldn't have even passed the test, why is everybody who did pass the test legitimately being penalised for one Australian arsehole? So it's one of those things where, in the political sphere, the only political party that's really taken a stand against the speed of all this is ACT, which is, to be honest, an obscure party in and of themselves. And outside of that, you've got Labour's pushed it, Greens pushed it, NZ First has pushed it, Nationals. A National who's supposed to be in opposition has just fallen into line. It's kind of, that's literally not your job. Like, National's job as opposition is to go, whoa, let's talk about this. Where they've just fallen into line. So I think there's a lot of people out there who feel betrayed by all political parties, and no one is having a conversation. So I'm kind of in that. Again, I don't know if it's free speech or just my attitude of, if something's not being talked about, I'm going to be the one that's going to talk about. I'm happy to have that conversation. Have there been people who have posted things that are... I mean, we had one guy post that people should just go contact the gangs and sell their firearms to the gangs so they get way more money. We kicked that guy so fast it wasn't even funny, because it's just like having a conversation. I don't want to say civil disobedience, but protesting what's happening, sure. Actually doing illegal shit, get out. Like,
and it's interesting. We tend to just ask anyone we're talking to about firearms. Like, do you have a firearms license? Have you been guns in the past? Or, like, I'm just trying to, it's interesting to get...
When I was a teenager, I was in cadets, and we did firearms training, we did shooting. I was the top shot for my year, so I love firearms. I've been hunting, I've been possum hunting, deer stalking, I've done that, and I've never seen a bad attitude in any of the firearm circles I've ever been in. There's never been a bad attitude. It's always very safety conscious. Firearms they're a tool. They're not a weapon. Like, they've never been seen as a weapon. Even things like your AR-22s. It's a really cool tool. Like, it's not a weapon. I get to shoot lots of targets really fast, but the mindset has never been it's a weapon. It's dangerous, yes. You need to respect it, yes. But it's something you shoot rabbits with. It's never... Firearms in any of the cultures I've ever been in those fields, have never seen them as tools of war. Like, that's never been what they've been. And then you're penalising all these people and not even giving them a chance to have a say. So if there's any topic I'm going to be like, oi, not cool, it is this one. And it will be an election issue, because it has to be. Even if it is past the amnesty date, like, this is... it's not a topic that I feel is going to go away, because you've just pissed off 300,000 plus firearm owners who have literally done nothing wrong. So just going back to the political side of things, like the party side of things, I guess.
It's 500 paid members, right? So how are you guys tracking? I suppose this is to give people an idea of how realistic.
It's one of those things. The bugbear of the conversation. So this is something we're debating in-house, whether we push for this election or support a party we agree with. We haven't the debate in-house is about 50-50 at the minute as to which way we go. A lot of people want the political party, but it's still one of those things where, yes, we've got 10,000 likes, yes, we've got 1,000 members, we're still a tiny group. So it's one of those things where a lot of people still don't know we exist, people who have no idea what we're on about. Do we jump into politics? Do we not? We are tracking, so we are getting more memberships, like paid memberships every week, so that is a happening thing. I'm planning a road trip in the next couple of months around the island. That will definitely boost it.
Because you guys have like public meetings and stuff, right?
Yeah. So we've done meetings in Oamaru, Christchurch, around the place. So, and we've got wee groups setting up in every district, every region, and that they're having their small meetings and everything else. Again, it's a place to have a conversation. Whether we, like I said, the debate of whether we jump into the political sphere, it's this election or not, because this election is going to be messy as it is. I mean, there's so many political parties that are just...
When do you personally see, I mean, would you personally like to go into this election?
It's a dilemma for myself, because I want to run my ice cream shop. That's literally what I want to do with my life. Like this is something I'm really passionate about and I feel really needs to be done. But for me, myself, I just want to run my ice cream shop. That's literally all I want to do with my life. So this is kind of annoying, but it's also needed. So I feel responsible to this. I don't want to get into politics. I don't really feel I've got a choice but to get into politics, because I'm one of those people where I get really annoyed if nobody else stands up for an issue. Like if everybody's grumbling about an issue and nobody's doing anything about it, I feel I have to stand up if nobody else is standing up. That's just how I roll. If I see a problem, I try to fix a problem. Evidenced by all the shenanigans I get up to. I don't know. We'll see what the membership says. If the membership says go, we go.
And so, because you mentioned, or whether you throw your support behind another party, I mean, from what I suppose just from personally looking at, the page and,
sure.
I would assume that party that you guys would be quite closely aligned to would be ACT. Would that be fair to say? In terms of the party.
Yeah. It's really funny because I've never liked ACT. But yes, ACT would be the closest match. And we'd be the most likely support. So, I'm going to be going up to the meeting, David's meeting up in July up in Christchurch. And I'm looking to have a chat with him about all this, because I've got a group of people there's a reasonable amount of push that we've already got. So if we don't stand ourselves, then ACT is definitely somebody that we would look at pushing, because it's the closest aligned, and like there really isn't anyone else.
I did say that you guys have more Facebook followers than the ACT party does.
Yep.
Interesting, yeah.
Trust me, that's been a never-ending source of giggles. We, as far as social media reach goes, we are trending well. But it's been really funny watching the progress. We've completely outstripped all these little startup parties, and we've outstripped the Conservatives, and we've outstripped ACT, and we're heading up to outstripping even the 1080 movement.
What do you think it is that's really the driving force behind it?
People are pissed. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where people are pissed, and there's no avenue for expressing that. And sometimes it's at the same time, I think people are tired of fighting. Like, they're tired of fighting the Labour versus National, they're tired of fighting the NZ First versus Greens or ACT. I think everybody's tired of the status quo, and what we're offering is let's just walk. Like, screw fighting, we'll just walk away from the conversation. And I think people see that as if this isn't working, what's the point?
So why do you think people are pissed though? Because I suppose trying to understand the kind of climate that this has been able to grow.
Sure.
And, why?
One of the, I think it's one of those things where I've intentionally allowed and it's shown, and it's not always ideal, but I've allowed an environment where people can express their opinions. Because, like, you go on a lot of Facebook pages, political Facebook pages, talk about, like, moderating comments and stuff like that. They're heavily moderated. Like, you go onto any mainstream political party page, you say anything even closely out of turn, and you're banned from the page. You go onto the media pages, like Stuff and like News Hub and stuff like that. You say anything out of turn, you're gone. Whereas maybe I've gone too far the other way, but I've allowed people to have a conversation. And when you allow people to have a conversation, they're more likely to listen to what you have to say and hang around. People feel they can engage with you, and they'll allow you to engage with them. I think there's that culture, but I think it's economic, it's social, what I've heard from people is people feel that they've lost, like, what New Zealand used to be. And then there's this piddly little South Island group going, yeah, we liked what New Zealand used to be, let's do that. So they're pissed about all these issues, but fundamentally I think it's New Zealand's changed so much in the last just 20 years. Like, people can remember what it was. And it didn't used to be this PC. People used to be able to do DIY without the council jumping down their throats. I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's lots of tiny little things, and each new thing that comes along is just another straw on the camel's back. And we're offering an environment where people can have a conversation, but also a game plan. Like, every political party's like, we've got election promises that we'll try and keep. Whereas we're just like, screw it. We're going this way. You want to come? Let's road trip. Let's go.
Do you ever worry? Because I know that talk about comments and moderation and things like that. Obviously, like, I know, like, just with media, like, anything that commented on our pages, we are technically responsible because we're seen as the culture. So if we see something on the page and we don't take it down, we're responsible. So do you ever worry about that?
Yes, but it's that worry conflicts with my ethos. It's good. I've got a philosophy of, and again, it may be naive or idealistic, but good will out. So it's one of those things where, yes, can people look at what's posted on the page, by the comment in the comment section, and pin us and take it out of context? Yes, I am worried about that. But we live in an age where pages like this almost get to the point where they've got more reach and influence than mainstream media. So it's it's like that. Like, your mainstream media is still over the top. Like, people will pay attention to what's in the papers. But within your own culture, there's a balance. So, can it be taken out of context? Absolutely. I try to live my life in a way where, if it gets taken out of context, the evidence of how I live my life as the person leading all this will hopefully outbalance whatever, like, mud gets thrown at me. So it's mud's going to be thrown at me regardless. I just hope none of it, like, I try to live a life where none of it actually sticks. So it's, here, look, this is what people said on the Facebook page. Here's the life Solomon, who actually does all this, here's the life he leads. Terrible people. Tries not to be a terrible person, like maybe, like, yeah, so it's,
And how do you judge that? Because, I mean, obviously, like anyone who leads a political movement,
sure.
and then obviously you've got the youth centre side of things
Yes.
as well. Do you worry that people will look at that and kind of go...
I know they do.
Yeah.
I know they already do. And one of the things I will say to that is, again, I compartmentalise it. So, I do my best to keep... It's like keeping work and personal life separate, where in this case it's keeping political and work life separate. I do my best to keep that separate. So, like don't get me wrong, I mean, we get kids in there who, like, their entire life is politics. So, am I going to talk to the 16-year-old nerd about politics because that's what he's into? Sure. Am I going to start that conversation? No. I don't start that conversation with the people that come into my place. That's not a political venture. Like it's like, yes, I've had people go, oh well, this is connected to this, so or it must be connected to this kind. Yes, that's what I would like. If I was an outsider looking in, I'd be like, yeah, okay, this looks that way. But again, it's how I conduct myself, and I know most people wouldn't conduct themselves the way. When you start something like this, you have to behave. You need to keep your own standard way higher than anybody else ever has to keep their standard. Burden of leadership, I suppose. So I do my best never. So I do my best so that those worlds don't collide. I can't control how people see it. Realistically, the only thing I can do is control my actions. I can't control how people interpret that, but I do my honest best to keep things clean. Because, again, we live in the age of social media. Everybody has a phone. Everybody's on Instagram. All it takes is, somebody in my position, you have to be honest. Because all these kids are down there with their phones, with Snapchat and Instagram all the time. So it's just like, if the kids keep me honest, if that makes sense, where it's just like, if I'm doing something stupid, first thing cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's happened, I've been, cracking wisecracks, and I've had, it was really fun, I had, 8 kids with their phones recording me on, Instagram, and I'm just cracking jokes. And I know, because they're willing to do that for me cracking jokes, if I say something stupid or outrageous, they're going to do the exact same thing. So, for them, the public, myself, I have to keep those worlds separate, and I do my best to. So, I don't know if there's anything else that I can really say to that. It's just, I do my best. Will it ever be good enough for anybody else? I don't know. But that's more on them than it is on me, I think. So, I do my best. That's the best I can do.
Well, I think that is everything.
Cool.
Thank you very much for I appreciate it.
No, thank you. That's good. It's a dynamic topic. Somebody like myself, I see myself as a quandary. Because it's like, I'm spinning so many plates. People focus on one thing at a time. I'm spinning all these plates. It's kind of like, how do other people interpret this? I don't know. I'm just trying to do what I feel is right, if that makes sense. Am I going to mess up? Am I going to drop plates? Hell yes I am. I'll just keep going.
Fair enough.
So, again, it's...
Oh yeah, I'll definitely take those bits, alright?
So...
I might actually grab another photo just outside of it.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. So... No, but it's definitely going to be a fun one. I see things like this happening a lot more, so it's... I get myself into all these sorts of situations. It's great. Thanks!
Oh, I might just get looking down the street. Sorry, I always hate making people do that. Cool. Alright, thanks.
Awesome, cheers, good luck, see ya.